Hello, welcome to Zen Dharma Exchange. I am Dr. Victoria Urushurow, Associate Professor of Humanities at the University of Maryland, University College. I have been teaching classes in world religions for about 20 years now and have always felt a special fascination for Zen. Zen has great depth and also lots of humor, and therefore it is very rewarding and also fun to study. So I'm very delighted to be here today speaking with Zen Master Pohwa Sunim, founder of the World Zen Fellowship, and Louis Dabney, Chuck Mills, two of Master Sunim's longtime students. Master Sunim, what is Zen?
Summer breeze in the winter time.
Summer breeze in the winter time. Oh, Zen has sometimes such very short answers that have jewels of wisdom in them. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, Louis, how did you meet with Master Sunim?
Well, I came across Sunim through a very dear friend of mine, a guy named Tim, and he was a really interesting fellow. He was a clown and a teacher and a student of religious studies like I was a long time ago in college. And he, unlike myself, I tend to be sort of a believer and kind of nostalgic and sympathetic. Tim was very sort of disciplined, and he didn't believe things lightly. And so I was very surprised to hear that he was studying with anybody, much less a Zen master. So it was a real surprise for me. And he was battling a very deadly form of melanoma, ocular melanoma. So it's sort of skin cancer of the eye. And it spread all throughout him and usually kills people very quickly. He was probably the longest living guy ever with this disease. He just fought and fought and fought and fought. And throughout that process, in the hospital and stuff, throughout my friend's dying process, I kept bumping into Sunim. And he just, had total compassion, total presence, totally committed to my friend, and was very playful. He'd bring sushi and chocolate and stuff like that. So just because of his real sort of authentic dignity and compassion, and I just thought, wow, who is this guy? Because I've always sort of been interested in and how people deal with profound meanings in life and death, and how different people talk about these things. So I've always paid attention, but this was, Sunim has said, Zen is very living, and there's no artifice when people are on the verge of life and death and fighting. And so just seeing his presence there, it just I thought, wow, this guy's really something. And it was really cool hanging out in the intensive care unit, and Sunim would come charging in with his robes on and stuff like that, and just be hanging out, and so it was pretty cool. So that's how I got to meet him.
Wow. So then you obviously decided to start practicing yourself, but how long have you been practicing Zen now?
Well, I'd say probably seriously for about a year and a half, a little longer. I went by having met Sunim through my friend Tim, probably about 3 years ago, and just Sunim doesn't have any signs on his door, and he doesn't really advertise or anything. He's just, people find him. And I just went by one time, and I'd never had any affinity for Zen. I'd been interested in other kinds of religious practices and that sort of thing. I'd never had a real affinity for it. So I went by, and I sat and meditated and listened to the master, and I thought, wow, this is a really great guy, but I've been sort of doing my own things. I wasn't really familiar. So I kind of set it aside for a while. But as I said, I said I'd sort of he sent me an email after the first night I went by. He said, welcome to your friend, something along those lines, and I'll see you tomorrow, or something like that. And so, a year and a half later or so, I'd been bumping into him in the hospital a lot, and thought he was just a great guy. And So went by I decided to go by again, and then I really started practicing because I felt that I'd done a lot of tail chasing in my life. You can have a spiritual practice, but without any person to kind of be with you and to help you move through stuff, it's easy to just chase your tail. So I felt in my own practice, in my own life, that I needed someone to be with me in this process. And it didn't really matter if it was Christian or Hindu or Buddhist, but I felt the truth in my friend. So anyway, it was great. I came by and I said, "It's tomorrow," and he chuckled, and I started practicing, and I've been practicing pretty seriously for about a year and a half.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, Chuck, I have heard that you were kind of an explorer of world religions and have traveled a lot. And what brought you to Zen?
Well, like many people in our society, I had a spiritual hunger that wasn't filled by materialism or the religious dogmas and doctrines that I was raised in. So I explored many religions, and I traveled to religious and sacred sites all over the world looking for answers to my questions, from Mount Sinai in Egypt to the monasteries in Tibet. And finally, and oddly enough, within a few miles of where I work and live, I discovered Sunim. And, since studying with him, I've gotten answers. And Zen has shown me how to access an inner center of clarity and power and spiritual purpose. There's a Zen saying that before enlightenment there is chopping of wood and carrying of water, and after enlightenment there is chopping of wood and carrying of water. But what a difference. And the Zen teacher shows us how we ourselves can find that difference. And Sunim is a truly remarkable teacher. He leads with great humility from a centered place of personal integrity, and he's teaching us how to do the same thing. And I have found, since studying with him over the course of the last 3 years, that it's been not only inspirational but transformational.
Wow. So I see that there's something about a spiritual teacher that's really key to Zen practice. So I wonder, Master Sunim, do you have a spiritual teacher yourself?
Yes, I have. My master is Venerable Mo Vong, and he is a 78th Dharma successor all the way up to the Buddha.
Now, Master Sunim, could you share with us some experience that you have had that was very meaningful, an experience you've had with your teacher?
Yes. Well,